Quinn Ewers, his agent, calls the narratives around his slide absolute chicken. Well, you can finish the rest. S-H-I-T. We will talk about that. Also, how much did the Miami Dolphins really improve from the draft now that we're a week removed from it? We're going to discuss that as well. Got a lot to talk about on this special Sunday edition. Do me the favor. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new. And as always, let's get into this.
Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it!
You have got to be kidding me.
Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score!
Field down the near side, man open, touchdown!
The run from Tua Tagovailoa.
Touchdown!
He's going deep. He's going over the touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go! What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. And we are back here for another one. Appreciate each and every one of you coming through on this episode. I was actually going to do this earlier today, but the whole house is sick. You know, it's my wife got the whole house sick. So it was my daughter's birthday on Friday. We had her birthday party yesterday. And now even my daughter, who was just celebrating her birthday, has come down with a fever. My other daughter has a fever. So everyone's sick around here. It's crazy how, you know, my daughter says to me, Dad, is today May the 4th? And I looked at it, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm so out of it. And I'm like, yeah, May the 4th be with you. So there you go. Appreciate all of you coming through on this episode. We're going to talk about a lot here, all right? We're going to talk about quite a few things. I'm going to talk about if this team improved, how much they really did improve. We're going to talk about Quinn Ewers again, because his agent had some discussion. There's a pretty good article from ESPN. Then Barry Jackson dropped an article on Friday just talking about some of the draft picks and why the Miami Dolphins drafted guys who are lacking production. So we do have a little bit to talk about. First thing, I want to shout out to all of you Florida Panther fans. Please beat the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's no, you know, their sports teams, like my 5 most hated sports teams in all of professional sports are probably the Bills. Oh, I hate the Bills. The Bills, the Leafs, probably the Philadelphia Flyers, the New York Yankees, and I would put the New England Patriots right there too as well. I don't hate the New York Jets as much as the Patriots and the Bills because let's be honest, the Jets, meh, you know? So, but man, all I know is go Panthers. I hope they sweep the Leafs in 4. Please, God, let that happen. Because I got to deal with all these Leaf fans up here. Oh, this is our year. Here we go. Buddy, you guys beat the Ottawa Senators. Relax. So, yeah. No, I would not trade Tua and Ramsey for Purdy. Because you have to pay Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy wants $60+ million a year. Are you crazy? Tonight is a bittersweet day. One of my favorite shows is coming to an end tonight, The Righteous Gemstones. So, your boy's a little sad. He's sick and sad. Figure that one out, huh? And then, in case you guys didn't see what's going on right now down in Miami, the F1 is in Miami once more. All right? Everything that's going on down there. I mean, there's videos coming out of McDaniel and Tua and the crew walking together. And people are getting their panties in a bunch already. So, yeah, yeah, hey, man, Brock Purdy's been to a Super Bowl and 2 NFC Championship games. That's great. Fantastic. NFC is much easier than the AFC, number one. Number two, when everyone got hurt last year and Brock Purdy had to carry the team, how did that go? And listen, I'm a Purdy defender, but let's be real here. When everyone got hurt last year in San Francisco, how did it go for Brock Purdy? This is why I've always said Tua is better than him. Tua was making things work with like Lynn Bowden Jr. and such. Brock Purdy, last year, when he lost Debo and everyone got hurt, what happened? Christian McCaffrey goes down. Debo goes down. What happened? Brock Purdy showed you he can't carry a talented team. Guess what? Tua shown me. Guess what? In 2022, we would have made the playoffs if everyone's good old boy Brian Flores didn't blow the Jacksonville game or didn't blow the Atlanta game. That team goes to the playoffs. Far less talented team than what Tua has right now and what Brock Purdy has ever had to work with. Not even close. Not even close. So, Tua and Ramsey for Brock Purdy is ludicrous. And we're not talking about just arms. I'm talking about play in the pocket. What are we talking about here? Has Brock Purdy, with all those weapons, has he ever led the league in passing yards? You can say what you want about Tua having all these weapons, but at least he's led the league in passing yards with them, thus justifying it. So, yeah, that's it. Purdy is... I love Purdy. I'm a defender of Purdy. I think people are way too harsh on pocket quarterbacks right now. I think really way too harsh on pocket quarterbacks. But I'm a Brock Purdy defender. But Brock Purdy isn't better than Tua. Let's be real with ourselves right now. Let's be real with ourselves right now, okay? Just saying. So, and I like Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's a top 12 quarterback in the NFL to me when he's on. But yeah, I've seen Tua do more with less than I've seen Purdy do so far. That's it. You remember when I said Penei Sewell could go to right tackle and all you guys argued me? Remember when I said Robert Hunt would be a Pro Bowler? When none of y'all knew who he was? So Jeremy, you really want to talk about Raekwon Davis? You really want to go there? Remember I told you all what Chop would be back in November before we drafted him in April? And y'all doubted that? You really want to go here with me? And you want to talk about Raekwon Davis? Brother, I got a lot more hits than I do misses. So, you want to sit here and talk about Raekwon Davis? Brother, that's a short list. Why don't you read the long list of everything I've been right about? That's what I thought. So, and guess what? Raekwon Davis was better than Benito Jones. Raekwon was better than Deshaun Hand. If it wasn't for Calais Campbell, that whole rotation next to Steelers was kind of a little bit of a disaster. So, yeah. Thank you. I've been 110% right about so many things. It's crazy. Remember when I was saying we would take Kenneth Grant months ago? Who was right? Remember when I was talking about drafting Jonas Savannah back in November? Who was right? Huh? Let's talk about all the hits. People don't want to talk about the hits. People don't want to talk about the hits. And, yo, man, I'm a Burrow fan too, but guys, can you remind me, has Burrow ever led the league in passing yards, in passer rating? Has he ever done that? Has he ever led the league in completion percentage, Joe Burrow? I'm a fan. And if he's had Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, and look at the line and what they've invested in that offensive line for him, when he did go to the Super Bowl, it was all on the defense. He had a top 10 defense. Joe Burrow couldn't even make hot reads. That's why he was getting hit so hard. That defense took that Bengals team to the Super Bowl. Why don't you go back and rewatch that Joe Burrow run? And I'm a Joe Burrow fan. Why don't you go back and watch that run? So, and Tua can definitely throw some of the numbers. Bro, do y'all not remember Burrow's arm coming out? Burrow had one of the weaker arms coming out. Go look at the velocity Burrow can hit. Burrow and Tua have a very similar arm in terms of strength. I don't know what narrative people are trying to spin right now in the comment section right now. 110%. The difference between them is Burrow's a better athlete. That's the difference. What are you talking about? Down the field, not 15 yards. Devontae Parker, Preston Williams, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You know how many of them have made catches outside the numbers beyond 15 yards? What are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? Don't let ignorance get you benched on my channel. Yes, I did smack on that optic, bro. And I got a case hit. And I got a case hit. Boom. I got a Devontae Adams Sunday Stars case hit. And I actually pulled a Bo Nix Blue Hyper out of that mega as well. So, yeah, it actually being decent. You know? So, yeah. These people are going to tell you next thing that Justin Herbert's better than Tua right now. What's Justin Herbert doing out here? All y'all told me Justin Herbert. Is that argument stopped now that y'all have seen since the moment he drafted him? When I called him Phillip Rivers 2.0, I ended up being right about that, didn't I? Y'all want to talk about playoff games? Let me know when Tua blows a 20-plus point lead, because y'all have been telling me we should have drafted Herbert over Tua. To Waddle and collapse pocket first downs. Oh, you can find a ton, bro. Like, that's one of the dumbest arguments I've ever heard. Man, I break down Tua's film weekly on this channel and have for 5 years, okay? Anyone want to sit here and tell me he can't throw outside? Tua can make every single NFL throw on the field. Anyone saying different doesn't know how to watch film. Period. Like, that's just end of story, end of discussion. Like, that's literally end of discussion. And they're the same people that'll turn, when a quarterback wins, wins aren't a quarterback stat. But when a quarterback loses, all of a sudden, quarterback wins become a quarterback stat. You see, you can see through all these people instantaneously. Because they want to sit here and say, well, Tua can't win big games. Tua can't do this. Well, first of all, Tua has like a 65% winning percentage, which is like 5th highest in the NFL right now out of all active quarterbacks. That's number one. Number two, go look at that second game in Buffalo. Don't sit here and tell me Tua is why we can't win against playoff teams. Go look at that second game in Buffalo last year. Tua put up the second highest EPA ever by a quarterback in that game against a Sean McDermott-led Buffalo Bills. Second highest EPA ever. And we lost. You know why? Because the defense put up a bottom 10 EPA per play allowed ever against the Sean McDermott team. And the special teams had the worst EPA per play ever against a Sean McDermott team. So, we should have beat Buffalo in Buffalo. Hell, you want to go back 2 years, Mike McDaniel's first year? Y'all told me Tua couldn't throw in the snow. Tua was one of the best players on that field in 2023. We should have swept the Bills, but what happened? Trent Sherfield and Tyreek Hill each dropped touchdowns. Josh Boyer gives up a 3rd and 7, and his defense gives up a 3rd and 17 before the half ends, and they give up points on it. Any one of those three things go our way, we win that game. Again, that's not on Tua's hands. That's not on Tua's head. It's the same thing, man. In 2023, when it was not popular with any of y'all, okay, what was I out here saying? I was out here pointing out Tyreek Hill's drops. None of y'all wanted to have that discussion about Tyreek Hill's drops. And sorry, I meant 2022. 2022, McDaniel's first year when we were on the road in Buffalo. We should have won that game. But I was out here in 2023 when I saw the trend continue of Tyreek Hill's key drops in big games. Why do you think we lost to Kansas City in Germany? That wasn't Tua. Tyreek Hill alone lost us that game. He had a drop at the 31 that led to no points on that drive. He then had a fumble at the 30, at the Kansas City 30, that was picked up and returned for a touchdown. Let's do some math here. Let's do some simple math. Okay? Let's say he makes the catch at the 30 and he doesn't fumble at the 31, but we get stalled out. That's at least 6 points right there off the board. But guess what? Add in a touchdown, you would have had to take a touchdown off of the fumble. So now you're at 13 points, swing our way. Even if we did the bare minimum and just got, and I'm not even including the Waddle drop inside the 30 that ended in no points. I'm not even including that one. So, when you sit here and you look at a few of the good teams we've lost to, guess what? It hasn't been all two. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Hate to be the bearer of bad news. And the Titans game, that was all the defense. 14-point lead and with under 3 minutes left. That's defense. You got to close that out. There is no ifs, ands, or buts. At all. So, let's start calling things here. The fact of the matter is, against good teams, this team has contributed to the losses. Go back to Tua's rookie season, when we had to win and get in against Buffalo. Andrew Van Ginkel was the only guy who got off the bus on both sides of the ball. Tua threw 3 picks that game. 2 of them weren't on him. Right? One of them was Devontae Parker literally slipped and fell as the ball was in the air towards him. Picked off. Other one hit Devontae in the hands. Ball pops up. Picked off. The only one that was on Tua was the interception over the middle where he overthrew. Where he overshot the ball. That was the only one that was on him in that game. Now, was he lights out the rest of the game? No. But again, and this has been happening before Tua. 2016, we had the unicorn line. Tannehill gets hurt. Matt Moore, what happens? Lose to the Steelers in the first round. Guys, until you start realizing this isn't a one specific player issue, and this has been an organizational issue for 20 fucking years, you'll sleep better at night. I'm not about to sit here and blame the guy who is our first Pro Bowler at the position in 30 plus years, who's led the league in passing yards, who's led the league in completion percentage, who's led the league in passer rating. I'm not going to blame him for his play. Now for his health, that's a different discussion. Let's have a discussion because he doesn't protect himself. That's the issue with Tua Tagovailoa. It's not so much the play, it's the fact that you don't protect yourself and you don't make yourself available when we need you to. Like, man, I want you to go back and look at that final Flores year. Go look at that roster. Again, I say, we should have made the playoffs if Brian Flores doesn't get out-coached in the final couple minutes of the Jacksonville game and the final couple minutes of the Falcons game. We should have made the playoffs. And look at that offense. That offense was not good. At all. So, and then again, look at the Titans game. Win and get in against the Titans, right? Flores' last year. Win and get in against the Titans. The only guy who got off the bus was Duke Johnson. Literally, Duke Johnson was the only guy who got him off the bus. And what did they do? In the second half, they decided to hand the ball off to Jordan Howard. Right? Oh, we got to get Jordan Howard involved. Blah, 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 blah. And even that game came down to coaching. And Flores and his staff got out coached. And I'll tell you why. Okay? Go watch the first couple drives with Tennessee Titans. They were pushing the ball down past 10 yards with Tannehill. But then they realized, oh shit, this isn't working. The conditions, everything going on, this isn't a good idea. So after like the second drive, everything from that point on was play action and from 12 yards to the line of scrimmage. They changed their whole game plan. What did we do? Duke Johnson looks like he's the only guy who gets off the bus, so let's drop Tua back 42 times. That makes sense. That's great coaching, guys. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And this is the stuff you guys defend. And this is the stuff you want to say, well, it's Tua's fault. Give me a break. Give me a break. Flores, I just named 3 games in Flores' last year where he shot himself in the foot, and if he would have won any one of those games, we make the playoffs. And the first 2, the Falcons and the Jags, is an absolute joke. Urban Meyer. You got out-coached by Urban Meyer. Think about this for a second. Urban Meyer. And we all remember how the Jags run went. That guy beat you. That guy out-coached you in the final 2 minutes. Both games, Tua left the field with the lead. Said, here you go, Brian. Go show me what your Super Bowl defense that all these fans say we have right now can go do for us. And what they do, blew it twice. Against 2 teams that weren't on our level. But it's Tua's fault. You need a break. Unbelievable. Look at this. Look at these idiots. How many chances did Tua have to save that Tennessee game? Blah, blah, blah. Bro, that defense has a 14-point lead. You're going to let them off the hook in the final 3 minutes against Will Levis? Are you crazy? Are you like absolutely delusional? Like, were you born with a couple chromosomes short? Like, what's going on here? Look at the excuses. Look at this. Absolutely unbelievable. This is the absolutely, and these are the people that think they know football. That's what's even crazier. These people think they'll go to tell their friends, oh, I know ball. Yeah, I know ball. No, you don't. I'm here to tell you, no, you don't. Okay? Give me a break. Fangio just went and won a Super Bowl with the Philadelphia Eagles. He couldn't get a stop in the final 3 minutes against a Will Levis-led Tennessee Titans, and you want to let that off the hook? Are you delusional? Give me a break, man. Listen, I'll call Tua out when he's trash, or I'll call Tua out when he's injured and not available. 110%. So I was saying to draft Jackson Dart when I thought he'd be a second-round pick in August, September. Okay? So, listen, I wanted Baker Mayfield 2 years ago before he went to the Bucs. I wanted us to bring him in as competition for Tua. And if Tua went down and Baker stepped in and took the job, I said, so be it. So I ain't no Tua apologist. Don't come around and use those words against me. Because I stood 10 toes down on Baker Mayfield a couple years ago when he was a free agent. I stood 10 toes down on Jackson Dart all season. So don't sit here and call me a Tua apologist, bud. Okay? But you know what I am? Far more reasonable and far more logical than most of you delusional fans. You people are what's wrong with this fan base. Seriously. Yeah, Jameis Winston also threw 30-plus interceptions when he led the league in passing yards. We literally used to call him on the Tuesday night panel 30 for 30. 30 touchdown, 30 interceptions. Let's not forget that out. Let's not forget that. Oh, well, Jameis Winston led the league in passing yards. Yeah, he also threw 30 interceptions, bro. What are we speaking here? See how they leave the context out, right? They leave that part out, right? They'll leave that part out because it don't fit narratives. Man, I've been dealing with y'all for years. Y'all don't even know how to spin narratives properly. It's crazy. Unbelievable. And then the guy had to go get LASIK eye surgery. Yes, this franchise can win a championship with Tua leading it 110%. The bigger question is, can they win a championship with this coaching staff and this regime leading? And will Tua stay healthy? If Tua stays healthy, yes. If Tua doesn't stay healthy, no. But then you have to take into account, it's a deeper question than one player. You think there's, how many players on a team? We got 53 players on a team. You think one person? And look at this hat. I've had this hat for 25 years before Tua was even here. Okay? I just kept it in immaculate shape. Brother, I'm a Dolphin fan before Tua and after Tua. Let that be said. So, yeah. But again, there's bigger questions than just, can we win a Super Bowl with Tua at the helm? Was Tyreek gonna, look at Tyreek, is he gonna go to a dark place because his whole family's leaving him? He's gonna be left with nothing. Tyreek Hill's about to be left with nothing in his personal life. Is he gonna be able to put that to the side and come on the field and give us the guy we saw a couple years ago? Is Mike McDaniel finally gonna fix all his flaws? From how he calls the game inside the 20, inside the red zone, to clock management. This guy can't even get plays in on time. This is what people don't realize too, eh? You got a quarterback walking up to the line with 8 seconds, 10 seconds left on the clock. You got zero chance to process what you're seeing and audible with all the motions we have. How are you supposed to call it audible? How am I supposed to change my protection? How am I supposed to do anything with 8 to 10 seconds left on the play clock because Mike McDaniel is stuttering over his words trying to get the play in? There's so much growth needed, and it's not just one player. There is so much growth needed from the coaching staff down to the players right now to win a Super Bowl. So it's very narrow-sighted to just sit here and say, can this one player lead us to a Super Bowl? Because we got bigger questions. Well, we don't got bigger questions. We got other questions, whether aside from whether Tua can just stay healthy. It's not like that's our only question. It's not like we're totally sold on McDaniel. It's not like Tyreek is totally locked in. It's not like any of this stuff. Can Austin Jackson stay healthy? Is Patrick Paul going to be something? Is James Daniels going to look like the guy he was before the Achilles injury, or a guy recovering from an Achilles injury? There's so many questions right now. Like, man, were you guys not fans when Marino was around? Like, did you guys not sit here and look? Did Marino not teach anybody anything here? You had one of the greatest coaches of all time. You had one of the greatest talents at quarterback of all time, and you still couldn't win Jack Bo Diddley. But somehow, with McDaniel, who's not on Shula's level, and Tua, who's not on Marino's level, well, it's win or bust, baby. Think about this for a sec. Like, literally use our heads. Well, if win-loss is a quarterback stat, then guess what? Tua has a top 6 winning percentage at the position of all active quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So if win-loss is a quarterback stat, the guy's at like 64, 65%. And the one time he's had a good offensive line and everyone healthy during the McDaniel regime was against the Denver Broncos, and we put up 70-plus points. Other than that, he hasn't had a fully healthy offensive line his whole time under McDaniel, and even most of the time under Flores. So, you know, Man, I'm sorry. I know it's the off season, but man, I gotta let people know what time it is. Absolute ignorance and idiocy, man. And it's a Sunday, bro. Y'all people need to find God. Okay, so now that went way longer than I wanted it to, but I absolutely obliterated those people. You know, maybe sick, but I can still hand out L's. So, article here dropped, a 6-pack of notes from Barry Jackson dropped on Friday. And this is what Barry Jackson had to say with everything here. So, a 6-pack of Dolphin notes. At times, the Dolphins valued traits over production, and that decision worked out with Chop Robinson, who had 6 sacks and 26 tackles as a rookie last season after producing just 2 sacks against FBS teams in his final year at Penn State. The Dolphins hope something similar unfolds with 2 fifth-round picks who didn't measure up statistically. Maryland defensive tackle Jordan Phillips and Jason Marshall Jr., cornerback from University of Florida, who only had 2 career interceptions in 4 years and none the past 2 seasons. Phillips always will be remembered as a player selected just before Cleveland picked Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders in the 5th round. Dolphins general manager Chris Greer and the Dolphins talked a lot about Sanders, but they obviously preferred Phillips. Check back in 2 to 3 years to see if it was the right decision. Speaking of Phillips, Greer said one thing is he is a really good run stopper, run player. So what he was asked to do for them, he excelled in what he could do. We had some of our coaches work at the East-West game, and he was there and really showed off some stuff in the pass rush when he tried a different stance, different techniques he was being taught down there. For us, we're excited watching that, and I know Anthony Weaver was the first one who came to us, and Austin Clark were like, hey, watch this from the East-West and what he was doing. He's 20 years old. He has an unbelievable love for football. So we do think there's some things we can unlock with him. At the Senior Bowl, Maryland coach Mike Loxley was the one who told me this kid will be an even better player in the pros. He said he's so young still in what he can do, so we're excited for him. And there was this, too, that struck the Dolphins about Phillips per Greer. Anytime we asked anyone about him, you're like, what's he doing? They're like, oh, he's probably in the weight room working right now. They're like, this guy's working always. And literally the first thing he said to me on the phone, I said, you're a Dolphin. He goes, that's great, coach. Can I get the playbook right away? Like, just take it down and enjoy the day. As for Marshall's lack of takeaways, Greer said in terms of no interceptions, he's a guy that's around the ball. He's competitive. He had the injury this year, which set him back. He had a couple of games where he dropped a couple of picks too, but we had him here at our Miami local day workout, watched him move around. He has ball skills. He has hands. And for us, he's a size corner with movement skills. It's up to us and him with our coaching staff and him working to make those improvements. But we're very optimistic with his skill set that he will do that. Marshall tested well at the NFL Combine. Senior Bowl executive Eric Galko, count him among those who love the Dolphins selection of defensive tackle Kenneth Grant at 13 and Phillips in the 5th round. Grant, quote, graded similarly by us and others as one of the best DTs in the class and with arguably the highest upside, Galko said, adding that he impressed NFL clubs all week at the Shrine Bowl with his character, enthusiasm, and mental makeup. And Galko said in Phillips, the Dolphins landed an ascending, powerful, high-character DT. Phillips hasn't turned 21 years old yet, and he was a 2-year starter and leader for Maryland. He was one of the most impressive players at the Shrine Bowl, on the field as a powerful nose tackle and off the field with his football IQ/mental makeup. He was also won the Shrine Bowl's Pat Tillman Award, given to the player who best exemplifies the character, Pat Tillman. Oh, don't get me into that, okay? I don't know. If you want to go down a rabbit hole, go look into the Pat Tillman death. That's a rabbit hole. Definitely a cover-up, but we won't get into that. One reason the Dolphins moved up from 48th to 37 to grab Arizona guard Jonas Savaianaya was concerned that another team might draft him before 48. The identity of one of those teams was revealed this week when longtime NFL writer Greg Bedard said New England was considering taking him at 38. With Savaianaya off the board, the Patriots then took Ohio State running back Trayvon Henderson at 38. Count Dolphins rookie quarterback Quinn Ewers as an admirer of Tua Tagovailoa. I think that he knows the offense so well and his ability to anticipate throws is fun to watch, Ewer said. He's throwing to guys before they even enter the window. They are 3 yards behind a linebacker, but he knows exactly where these guys are going to come out and where these guys are going to go. It's going to be cool to talk to him about that. We get stuff that Miami does, and we installed it at Texas when I was playing at Texas. As a kid, he was reminded about another Dolphins quarterback. My dad would always tell me growing up that I need to have a quick release like Marino. Said Ewers, who was born in 2003, 3 years after Marino retired. So I grew up hearing my dad talk about him all the time. Ex-Maryland safety Dante Trader Jr., one of Miami's 3 fifth-round picks, motivates himself by putting motivational quotes on Post-it notes on a mirror. I put my goals up there so I can see them, whether people believe I can do it or not, he told Dolphins writers after Miami drafted him. Just being drafted was one of them. And then I always, I like this. Look at this. I always have my mirror, especially in season. Look at this guy over here. Huh? Is be a pest, be a pest. I write it on my hand every time I can see it. It's just that mentality. I like to carry it when I'm on the field. So I always remind myself the mindset, mentality I need to have every day. And I go. On the message board, on my mirror, and even in my journals, I have multiple quotes that sometimes are very vulgar, sometimes are clean, but anything to get me motivated. Trader said he has played every defensive back position, including some boundary cornerback. He will likely be a core special teams player. So, yeah, those are the 2 picks I was the most down on, Trader and Marshall. But I've said multiple times, if you had to say, hey, Reason, which one do you have faith in actually becoming something? I've said it. I would put my money on Trader. That's who I'd put my money on. I like him better than Marshall. You know, I just think there were better options from my big board. But speaking of, hey, we were just talking about all those people about Tua, right? We're talking about motivational quotes and in the mirror. Is this how, like, you know, Troy Ortiz and all these guys get up every morning? You get in there and you make it about Tua. Hey? You could probably say this for, like, how much of our fan base, eh? So Dante Trader isn't the only one who looks in the mirror for motivation in the morning. Let me tell you that, all right? I see these people on YouTube. I see these people on X. They're all over the place. Oh, snap diggity. Don't cook them like that, baby. Woo-wee, Scotty. So, yeah. Listen, a few things here I want to talk about right now that we just went over, okay? Number one, like I said, I think Trader is going to be better than Marshall, at least on special teams. You can get something there. The quick release with Ewers, it's evident on tape. You can throw from different arm slots, arm angles, off platform. It's easy. See, I kept telling y'all, you know, I see Senior Bowl executive Eric Galko hype up Kenneth Grant. I've been telling all y'all, scouts and the NFL community much higher on Kenneth Grant than the media is and the fans are. Don't let those mock drafts poison and make your mind toxic, and don't start taking these as gospel, man. You know, like that's it. So that, you know, I told y'all they're going to take Kenneth Grant. Now y'all know what time it is. Now with Jordan Phillips, I think with Jordan Phillips it's obvious, it's evident. You know, everyone I've had on here when we've talked about him, it's upside. That was a pure upside pick. And I'll talk a little bit further about this. I had an update for channel members and Patreons. From what I understand, the Miami Dolphins, the reason why they traded back from 116 is they were going to take a defensive tackle there. That's literally the word that I've received, is the reason why they traded back is because of that run on defensive tackle. What that happened right before 116. Remember, Deion Walker went off the board, Ty Robinson went off the board, and CJ West went off the board like right before them. You know what I mean? Exactly. You know why? And why did Trent Dilfer win a Super Bowl, right? Fantastic defense, fantastic running game with Jamal Lewis, and a fantastic offensive line. And look at who he played in that Super Bowl. Who was his opponent in that Super Bowl? Kerry Collins, who was literally a recovering alcoholic with the Giants. He was literally fresh out of rehab. But what did the Giants have? Very similar to what the Ravens did. Great defense, good offensive line, and a really strong running game. Kerry Collins was like literally fresh out of rehab that year. But what? Again, a very well-built team and a very well-coached team can take a guy fresh out of rehab to a freaking Super Bowl. And Kerry Collins, okay? I don't know if anyone you remember Kerry Collins. He wasn't much better than Trent Dilfer, let me put it that way. All right? I'm just saying. So, and you know, man, those guys would be ran out of Miami, ran out of the NFL, never mind Miami nowadays. Right? So, anyways, let's get into some Quinn Ewers stuff here. Now, Quinn Ewers. And then we're going to get into if this team improved after the draft. Okay? So I got some stuff I want to show you with that. So, Quinn Ewers, this is an interesting article here. So, Quinn Ewers was in pain. This came out yesterday. Okay, this article. He could not eat very much, if at all. He could hardly smile. And very little of it had to do with where he went in the NFL draft. Round 7, number 231 of 257 picks to the Miami Dolphins. The week before the draft, Ewers, the former Texas quarterback, had 4 wisdom teeth extracted. One left an exposed nerve that had him hurting. When the draft began, Ewers figured he would not be among the first 32 selections. But round 2 was a possibility. Listen, I'm going to tell you this. I don't know if you guys follow Matt Miller. All right, Matt Miller's risen from like, you know, the depths of Draft X all the way. He's on ESPN now, and even he praised the value we got Quinn Ewers at. You know, he like even he was shocked. Matt Miller was shocked that he was on the board in the 7th. Okay, so anyways, continuing. His agent, Ron Slavin, felt almost assured Ewers would be picked before the last round. Whether it's because of concerns about arm strength, mobility, or previous injuries, 12 quarterbacks were selected before Ewers, who led the SEC with 31 touchdown passes in 2024, despite missing 2 games, and led the Longhorns to the college football playoff semifinals in 2 straight years. Shedeur Sanders' slide from the possible first round to the 144th pick in the 5th round overshadowed Ewers' disappointing fall. I just didn't know what was going on, Ewers 22 told ESPN 2 days after the draft during a break from his workouts at Mars Strength in South Lake, Texas. But I mean, it was nice to get drafted because at one point I'm like, I'm not even going to get drafted. I'm going to go undrafted. It was very unexpected. And then I think that the toughest part about it is just the amount of unexpected occurrences that there were. But I'm glad that I ended up where I ended up. To go as late as I did, I'm glad it's to a good spot. ESPN followed Ewers throughout his draft process, from pre-combine work at South Lake Carroll High School to the NFL Draft Combine in Indianapolis to Texas's Pro Day in Austin to pre-draft visits with the Raiders and Colts, and finally to draft weekend in Lake Bridgeport, Texas. This is his journey from his high pre-draft expectations through his long wait to be selected in the 7th round and the opportunity that lies ahead of him with the Miami Dolphins. Tucked into a string of office buildings just off State Highway 114 in South Lake, Texas, is Mars Strength. On the walls are jerseys worn by baseball and football players trained by Chad Marr over the years. One is a Ewers number 3 Texas jersey. Marr has worked with Ewers since the quarterback was at Ohio State in 2021 before he transferred to Texas, but it was the first time they spent this much time training together. 5 days a week, 2 hours a day. When Ewers arrived at Marr, he only weighed 200 pounds. He was worn down from a long season and unable to train properly because of 2 oblique tears and a high ankle sprain suffered during the season. Communication is a big thing when guys come out of college. You need to give them a sense of direction. It's a long year for them, and it's like they're in a situation where their whole life is managed. They need to decompress a little bit. So look at that. 2 oblique tears he had last year. That's crazy. I didn't even know that. The optimization program designed by Marr was to add weight to Ewers' frame, but not to make him bulky. Different days called for specific areas of work. One day targeted his back muscles. The next day was an upper body workout. Another day would be Marr's proprietary box matrix workout that deals with hip and spine mobility. The plan was to develop functional strength and with exercises done on different platforms and angles using counterbalances to unlock different parts of the body. I have him explain these things to me in more of an English than whatever he talks. Ewers laughed. No, it's cool to get to hear about our body is truly put together. At the combine, Ewers weighed in at 214 pounds. Mark said Ewers can easily carry 225 pounds on his 6'2" frame. Just in 4 weeks, he put on, I want to say 14, 15 pounds. 11 pounds of that was muscle. He did really well, but what shows you is that it's still there. The capacity is still there. He just needed room to do it. So, now mid-February. The week before Ewers left for the combine in Indianapolis, he spent a few days in a familiar setting, South Lakes Carroll's indoor facility. He starred there, going to the Class 6A Division I state championship game his junior year before leaving for Ohio State. On this day in February, under the watchful eye of throw-it-deep quarterbacks Jeff Christensen, he threw passes for an hour to former Dallas Cowboys receiver Terrence Williams, New York Giants running back Dante Miller, Carolina Panthers cornerback Caleb Evans, and South Lake Carroll Jr. receiver Brock Boyd, a national recruit in the class of 2026. This is where it all started, Ewer said. Since January, when the Longhorns lost to his former Buckeyes team in the CFP finals, Ewers had spent more time working on his body than throwing passes, but he settled in quickly. During 2 throwing sessions the week before the combine, he ripped passes near and far, showing no effects of the oblique injuries. With a healthy ankle, he was on his toes more. Christensen liked what he saw. Quote, it's just natural to him, Christensen said. Ewers left for Indianapolis feeling confident. Quote, what I did at Texas is very important. I have a lot of experience on the football field, which is something you can't really coach, Ewers said. But now, going through the interview process and whatnot, it's like any job interview. You're going in to try and prove they should hire you and why they should hire you. So now in late February, early March, after dinner at a famed St. Elmo steakhouse in Indianapolis, Ewers walked over to the Omni Hotel on the second floor. He's immediately fitted with a microphone for a sit-down interview to launch a new set of Panini America trading cards. From there was a stop in the Under Armour suite where he was given some cleats, tennis shoes, slides, and all kinds of gear. But it was the presentation by Cognalize, a German reality software company that mostly enthused Ewers. Washington Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels credited the technology for his development at LSU. Ewers donned a virtual reality mask and was transported onto a football field. For the next 15 to 20 minutes, Ewers was transfixed. He simulated dropbacks and threw passes, all virtually, in a program designed to give players more reps than a practice would allow and without the physical toll it takes on the body. I just got sacked, didn't I? Ewers said after the defense was sped up. Earlier in the day, Ewers went through medical examinations that lasted 6 hours. The day before, Ewers had interviews with the Jags, the Titans, the Jets, the Saints, the Steelers, the Raiders, and the Colts. He had informal meetings with other teams that night, too. Each year, he's made a big jump in his development, and that's what's been pretty cool, said a scout from a team that interviewed him at the Combine. He was immature, didn't really know the offense his freshman year at Ohio State. I don't think he was a real enduring a couple of years ago, but he lost weight, got in shape, got on a diet, cut his hair, showed he can be a leader. It's been really good growth, and he knows it, and he can articulate all that. If anyone questions Ewers' leadership, they can ask his Texas teammates what they think. His grit and determination, he's a leader on and off the field for us, said Matthew Golden, who was selected number 23. Whenever Quinn talks, we listen. Ewers believes he aced the combine tests and credits Slavin, whom he has known since he was in high school. With preparation comes confidence, right? Ewers said, I don't want to say I was overprepared, but I was prepared a lot. I think I did a really good job with the whole process and looked forward to seeing how it ends up affecting everything that happens in the future. On February 28th, he met the media, first a group session and then individual interviews with SiriusXM and other broadcast partners. The next day, he put his arm on display. Man, I've been spinning it, so I feel good about putting on a show out there. Lucas Oil Stadium was relatively quiet March 1st as fans watched players run a 40-yard dash. Ewers was not there to work out. He only threw. Quinn said before he walked in there, this is what I do, Slavin said. You watch some guys throw, and it's all effort and exerting all of their strength to throw the ball. With Quinn, it's a click of the wrist and the ball goes 40 yards. Ewers displayed accuracy, touch, and power in all his 22 throws of different types. He's got a real quick stroke, real effortless. The ball comes out fast, one NFC personnel director said. I think the game tape says he's really good with the intermediate and short stuff, and that kind of showed with the velocity and accuracy he can layer the ball. It doesn't have the biggest arm, but it's more than good enough for sure. Ewers left Indianapolis pleased. I think I did a good job of showing teams who I am as a person and what I can be as a player. Now it's just trying to get these guys to start to believe in me. But he's not ready to think about which team would select him or like them best. The uncertainty right now is unreal, because you don't know if some of these teams are pump faking, you just play chess with other teams, or if they really like you. On March 24th, the Texas Pro Day, Ewers had a late afternoon meeting in Austin with the Steelers, including Mike Tomlin. That night he had dinner at Perry's Steakhouse in downtown Austin with Saints contingent. see. He sat between Saints' new coach Kellen Moore and offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier for a couple of hours, enjoying a steak and talking football. Last summer, he was roommates with Nussmeier's son, Garrett, the LSU quarterback, at the Manning Passing Academy. It's a small world, Ewer said. It was good to make those connections. It was fun to get to know them, ask the questions, and them asking me questions. It was a different experience than the Combine and 18-minute formal interviews in Indianapolis. It's definitely more laid back, he said, after the Combine. Maybe that's because of the way I look at it now. The energy is going to be different at the Combine because it's a different time going through it. I just felt like I was able to be me around all those guys and show who I am. Late in the morning on March 25th, Ewers was back inside Texas's indoor practice facility. He cheered on teammates as they bench pressed 225 pounds and did verts. His time to shine came about 2 hours after the session featuring 21 Longhorns began. Every team was represented, and attendees included coaches Mike Vrabel of the New England Patriots, Aaron Glenn of the Jets, and Ben Johnson of the Bears. At least 6 more general managers were on hand. For a guy like him, said one NFC personnel chief, it's going to matter where he goes. It's like that for every quarterback, really, but he throws a catchable ball. He's accurate. There's a lot to like. Some concerns about his NFL upside remain. The durability and size, he's been banged up a little bit, so that'll come up, one FC scout said. Yeah, he can make all the throws, but there's going to be questions about his deep ball. You're probably going to want to see a little more. Ewers and his skill players met before the pro day to make a plan during the first session together since Texas lost to Ohio State at the Cotton Bowl. You don't go into the last game we're playing thinking it's the last time we're going to be together, Ewers said. It all ended abruptly for us. So to get together and see all the hard work since then come to fruition was really cool. Over the next 20 minutes, Ewers ran the show, not a quarterback, coach, or assistant. Everybody knew the script. He was warning those on the sidelines. I love it. To be aware when he was about to throw an out route. He had the coach's backup when he was rolling left or right, so he had more space. It was going to be my deal from the jump, Ewer said. I wanted to run it, show that I'm a leader, and the receivers look for me for that leadership. Just wanted to show that the presence that I bring and the command to whatever team I'm going to. At the end of the day, it was my day, the receiver's day. It's what we wanted. Ewers completed 30 of his first 33 passes. The 3 incompletions came on drop passes. Every pass was on the money, from the slants to the shallow crossers to the deep overs. Good ball there, a former teammate yelled from the bleachers after a stutter go deep ball to Golden. Late in the session, a couple of deep balls wobbled too much for Ewers' liking, but the session was almost on fast forward. He ended up 50 of 59 with 4 drops and 5 throws that were off target. That was a good throwing. That was as good a throwing session as I've seen, one NFC scout said. He had more power on his intermediate throws than I thought he would, said an AFC personnel chief. The deep balls fluttered a little bit, but he can make all the throws. That night, Ewers was scheduled to meet with the Dolphins, but he got a stomach virus, which postponed the trip to Tampa to film a segment for John Gruden's QB camp on Barstool Sports. On April 3rd, Ewers made the quick drive to the Star at the Cowboys World Headquarters. It was Dallas Day. The Cowboys term for their workouts of local players in the draft from area high schools and colleges. Ewers did not work out, but he met with the staff and coach and had a 90-minute meeting with the owner and general manager, Jerry Jones. That was cool, just sitting in there and talking with him. Ewers grew up a Cowboys fan, but the chances of him getting selected by the team took a hit after the Cowboys made a trade to acquire Joe Milton from the Patriots. Being from South Lake, right down the road, going to talk to all these guys on the staff, the coaches, the head coach, Mr. Jones, it was really unbelievable, Ewer said. It's been my team growing up, so I don't know if it's really sunk in yet. The visits meant the draft process was starting to come to an end. Before Ewers went to Vegas to meet the Raiders, he had an important weekend on hand. He was co-best man with Texas tight end Gunnar Helm at the wedding of his Longhorns left guard, Hayden Connor. I've got to think of a speech, he said. After the visit with the Raiders, he flew to Indianapolis to meet with the Colts. Other teams checked in via video chats. Just told him to be himself, Slavin said, of his advice to Ewers in those meetings. In between dinners and meetings, Ewers still found time to work out. Mar sent him a series of exercises to go through at a local gym or even his hotel room. The visits to Las Vegas and Indianapolis crystallized what was about to happen in a few weeks at the draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He started to picture the places he saw as a potential home for the next 4 years. Man, it's hard, but we're human beings. They're bringing you in on a top 30 visit, or you're meeting with people on Zoom and you start to narrow it down. But still, at the end of the day, got no clue until I get the call on draft day. I don't want to get too excited about a place. For Slavin, who represented 5 other draft prospects, the process with Ewers has been personal. He first met with the quarterback when Ewers was a sophomore in high school and helped him navigate the path that led him to Ohio State and ultimately back to Texas. When Slavin started, the relationship between agents and players largely didn't begin until the junior year in college. He has grown close to the Ewers family, so criticism Ewers received from those who felt he didn't meet their expectations at Texas and the championing of 2023 number 1 recruit Arch Manning, who will start in the fall, stung. He knew teams would not give him their entire picture because they didn't want him to share their thoughts with other teams. It's personal, but it's more nerve-wracking because you don't want to let anybody down, Slavin said. Do I regret maybe not having him sit a couple weeks with the oblique or get him more healthy? Sure, but Quinn didn't want to miss any games. His goal from the beginning was to win a national championship for Texas. So you go through the draft process and you say, he's shown toughness, he's shown resiliency, but how much do teams really take that into consideration? If you're talking about toughness and resilience, he's the first pick in the draft. And the next year and the following year for what he endured. So here's the draft. Lake Bridgeport is about a 2-hour drive from South Lake. Family's friend's house and party barn in Chico, Texas would become Ewers' home for the 3 days of the NFL draft. The setup became something of a legend on social media. With taxidermy mounts of all kinds of animals in the background, Ewers was able to land a bison that Friday during a hunt that took his mind away from football. On day 2 of the draft, 65 family members and friends, including parents, sister, and girlfriend, were on hand. Hutchins Barbecue catered the event. The Texas Twinkies, large jalapenos stuffed with brisket and cream cheese, wrapped in bacon, were a hit. In the first round, Cam Ward went number 1 to the Titans. Later, the Giants traded back into the first and took Jackson Dart with the 25th pick. The mindset on day 2 was Saints or Seahawks, Slavin said. And we knew that if Tyler Shuck went to the Browns at 33, Quinn's in play at 40 with the Saints. And then if Jalen Milroe went to the Raiders, Quinn's in play at 92 with the Seattle Seahawks. Shuck didn't go to the Browns. The Saints took him at 40, and Milroe didn't go to the Raiders. He went to Seattle at 92, so Ewers had to wait. It became excruciating. Dylan Gabriel to the Browns in round 3, Sanders to the Browns in round 5. In round 6, 5 more quarterbacks went. McCord to the Eagles, Howard to the Steelers, Riley Leonard to the Colts, Graham Mertz to the Texans, and Cam Millers to the Raiders. Technically, a 6 was picked, but the Raiders are moving Tommy Mellett to receiver. The Raiders took 2 FCS guys above me, so we'll see what happens. Slavin called the scenario a nightmare. As the picks went by, one thought entered Ewers' minds. Regarding not going back to college, we could have made more money with nil by transferring to another school. He said at the combine he wanted his legacy to be as a Texas quarterback. I wanted to continue on my career path, and I know I'm ready for the NFL, Ewers said. I think my game fits the NFL better than it does college, honestly. I'm ready for the next step. Slavin, logistically, entering the portal to find another school was nearly impossible because of the timing. You can ask those questions, but the reality of it is, the way the portal schedule is set, it was not possible for Quinn because he didn't want to be talked about the portal. When they beat Arizona State on January 1st, the next game was January 10th. If he's going to commit to Miami or Notre Dame, he's going to do that while his team's got a playoff game in a week, and his teammates are going to look at him like, you're going to another school. If we lose, you can't do that. Had the Longhorns lost Arizona State, maybe entering the portal would have been an option according to Slavin, but they won on Ewers' signature moment. A 4th and 13 touchdown pass to Golden, first overtime, and a touchdown pass in double overtime. After the loss to Ohio State in the semifinal, the last thing Ewers wanted to discuss was a transfer. He wanted to win a national champion, Slavin said. He wanted to leave a legacy at Texas. Now it's supposed to be, do you want to talk about going to another school? To be able to flip your mind like that, plus the schools need an answer on January 1st. They need to know who their guy is going to be. Before the 7th round, Slavin was communicating with 2 teams. At that point, it's getting him to the best place, so it was Cowboys and Dolphins, Slavin said. In round 7, the San Francisco 49ers took Curtis Rourke. He's coming off a torn ACL. Finally, Slavin got a text back from the Dolphins that they were going to select Ewers. The moment of seeing his name flash on the television screen that he dreamed about as a kid had arrived. Maybe not as excited, but it's the same opportunity that every guy was drafted in front of me is getting. The day after the draft, Slavin said he reached out to half the league to find out what happened. They thought he was a 3rd or 4th round pick, but too big of a name to be a clipboard holder, which I think is chicken, S-H-I-T. So there you go. Right there. The reason he was getting was, yeah, we think he's a 3rd or 4th round pick, but he's too big of a name to hold a clipboard. Said one personnel chief, there's only so many reps to go around for young quarterbacks. You can justify it at other positions, but if you can't go to quarterback the amount of work to develop him, then you're almost wasting a pick. But Ewers now has an opportunity he's always wanted. When he grew up throwing passes in the backyard to his father, Curtis, dreaming of being an NFL quarterback, he was not tied to being the top pick in the draft. His mother, Kristen, would ask him what he wanted to be when he grew up. Quinn's answer is always, I want to play in the NFL. She remarked early in the draft process. I would say, okay, what's your plan B? He would say there isn't a plan B. So getting to see him live, live that out, it's a joy, truly. So there you go. For the first time in his football life, Ewers is an underdog. During his meeting with Jones, the Cowboys owner compared Ewers' situation to Tom Brady's at Michigan, when he had to deal with the hype surrounding wonder kid Drew Henson, with whom Brady had to split playing time with. Brady was a 6th-round pick of the New England Patriots in 2000, went on to win 7 Super Bowls. Nobody's making that promise for Ewers, who next week heads to Miami Gardens for the Dolphins rookie minicamp. Pain from his wisdom teeth will subside. The pain from the draft will linger. Quote, it's definitely a lot of motivation that comes with it, especially being the last quarterback drafted. I still have the high expectations for myself, but just from the outside looking in, this is the first time in my life to not have that much expectations. There's definitely motivation and fuel and a lot of it. So, I mean, kind of very similar. Kind of very, very similar to, that's a good pick with Tom Brady. That's a good comparison now. I'm not going to sit here and say it's going to be Tom Brady, but similar to Brock Purdy too, right? Brock Purdy ended up being Mr. Irrelevant, the last player taken, the last quarterback taken like Ewers was. And I didn't get it. I didn't, Ewers should have been gone by the 3rd or 4th. That's crazy. I think so. I think it's crazy. So, I got high expectations. I've told you guys this, and just reading that further cements it. I think when you're talking about from operating this offense from an in-structure standpoint, Ewers has higher upside than Wilson. Zach Wilson may have better arm talent. Zach Wilson may be the better athlete, but he's never thrived operating from in-structure. Like I've said multiple times, Sean Payton already told you what time it was. He decided to make, for the 2nd year in a row, Jarrett Stidham the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL. Who's not the athlete, doesn't have the arm. Zach Wilson does. But why? He can operate from in-structure better than Zach Wilson does. So, it is what it is, right? Now, I want to ask you guys this question. I'm going to do a poll here. All right? I want to know if the Miami Dolphins, I want to know how much you think they improved in the draft. That's what I want to know. How much did they improve in the draft? So I'm going to put up a poll here. Okay, we're going to have multiple answers. I'm going to have 4 answers for you guys during this topic that we go through here. All right? Because I definitely got some questions for you guys here. All right? We're gonna see what you guys think in regards here. So I'm gonna give the negatives. Don't worry. You'll get the negative. Nancy's will get a chance. Don't you guys worry whatsoever. You guys will get a chance. I got you. All right? Don't worry. So I'm going to put this up here right now. So I'm going to give you 4 options for whether this was a success or whether this was a failure for you guys. All right? So you can see in the chat right now. All right? I have got it in the chat for you guys right now. Let me know in the chat, and we're going to break it down a little bit here. What do you think about this draft? How much did the Dolphins improve? Did they get a lot better? They did good, but still have holes. Not enough improvement. The draft was a failure. Let me know in the chat right now. Let me know in the chat right now what you think, okay? All right? Now, I'm going to go over this now. Let's get into this. So last year, when we dive into the rankings and such, let's stick here. So, when you dive into the rankings here for the Miami Dolphins, okay, you look at this, all right? They were 22nd in points per game. Offensively, they were 9th in points per game allowed. Defensively, let's stick with the defense on the right side here for a sec. Opponent yards per game, there were 6. They allowed 314. Opponents points per play, they were 15th. You know, you look at this. They were 5th in allowing opponents third down conversions. They were 6th in allowing fourth down conversions. 5th in allowing red zone scoring, which very, very good. Now, against the rush, they were 6th in terms of the opponent's rushing play percentage against them. Now, an opponent yards per rush, they were 12th. An opponent rushes per game, they were 6th. An opponent rush yards per game, they were 8th. An opponent rushing yard touchdowns per game, they were 7th. Now, I want to talk about this for a sec because I do think they improved a lot here. You know, yes, did they lose Calais Campbell? 110%. They lost Calais Campbell. But right now, I think you're looking at, if you go to something like our lads or something, I wouldn't have Kenneth as the nose tackle. I think Kenneth is going to be a D end along with Sealer. So I think right now our starting front is in the interior, Sealer, Benito Jones, and Kenneth Grant, with Zeke Biggers and Jordan Phillips moving around. I think they're going to add another end potentially if they can. And then you add on Jordan Phillips, Jordan Brooks, Tyrell Dodson, Bradley Chubb, and Chop Robinson to really finish off that front 7. And I know I named 8, but Chop Robinson, you got to count in a rotation. I think they're going to get even better against the run. Like last year again, right? I think that 4.4 opponent yards per rush is going to go down into the 3s. I think that'll go from 12 to top 10. I think the rush yards per game, they allowed 103.7 last year. I wouldn't be shocked if that gets under 100. Now, they only allowed about 0.7 rushing touchdowns per game, and I think that's going to fall down too. I think we're going to be a lot harder to get short yardage against. And I think especially if Jordan Phillips takes a little bit of a step in terms of his development. Because I think he's someone, we're going to see stuff at the NFL level we never saw in Maryland from Jordan Phillips. I truly believe that. So I think they've actually improved against the run. I really do. Now, you look at their offense rushing the ball, right? 28 in yards per rush, 17th in rushes per game, 21st in rush yards per game, 23rd in rush touchdowns per game at 0.3. I think those are all going to improve. As long as this offensive line stays healthy, I think all of those improve. Our starting offensive line of Patrick Paul, James Daniels, Aaron Brewer, Jonas Savaianaya, and Austin Jackson, if that line stays healthy, those rush numbers are going to, offensively, are going to go way up. Way up. So when you look at the trenches on both sides, I think they've improved. I think they've gotten better. I really do. And again, now you go down to the passing numbers on the left side, okay? Completion percentage, 4th best. Yards per pass, 21st best. Passes per game, 7th most. Yards per game, 16th best. Interceptions thrown, number 10. QB sack percentage, number 17. Now, offensively, those numbers are very skewed because it wasn't a full healthy season of Tua Tagovailoa. So you got to kind of throw those numbers at the board and you got to say to yourself, if Tua's healthy, yeah, we improve in all those categories. But on the defensive side, to the right side, you look at the opponent completion percentage, 9th best. Opponent yards per pass, 2nd best. Right? Opponent pass yards per game, 10th best. Opponent interceptions thrown percentage, 24th. And sack percentage, 27th. Now, do I think the sack percentage is going to go up with that front? Yeah. But what scares me is the rest of the numbers there. and you're losing Ramsey. I think against the pass, you've gotten worse, and this is why you have to get so much better in your front seven. And then finally here, this is the big one. It's turnover statistics. You know, you look at offensively, we were 16th in giveaways a game, 26 in takeaways per game. But defensively, look at this. 26 in takeaways per game. 24th in opponent interceptions thrown. Like, that's not good. And I think that's where we need to see a big leap. And that's what worries me about them not improving the secondary. That is what worries me about not improving. Is unless those takeaways are coming up front in the front seven, I don't know how many takeaways we're going to get on that back half. I really don't. So if I had to vote on this, I would say they did good, but they still have a lot of holes. So I would be the second one on that. That would be me. So, and right now that is the leading 71%. I agree with you all on that. Guys, smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. We ran a little bit over time because of that opening, but hey, it was epic. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. Over 350 of you in the chat. Appreciate all y'all. See you on the next one. You already know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day, baby.